When I started chiropractic in 1995, I was more of the pure physical. You know, I did the spine, I did the extremities, I did the jaw, you know, that kind of thing. I even was teaching at the time, yet I didn't know what I didn't know. You know, there's that piece of the puzzle, piece of the pie. You know what you know, you also know what you don't know, but then there's a big piece of you don't know what you don't know.
I'm Jacqueline Foreman. I'm Dr. Foreman's oldest daughter. I'm also a licensed massage therapist, and I have my bachelor's in exercise kinesiology. And I actually used to work at my dad's clinic growing up. So I've been surrounded by this, whatever you want to call it, witchcraft voodoo, but also holistic medicine my whole life.
So what I use is a concept that I came up with called targeted frequency therapy. Targeted in that what tissues it going for, targeted in what's wrong, and then use a set of frequencies, whether it be sound, whether it be light, whether it be electrical, or whether it be vibration. That's what I'm using. I'm using frequencies to heal the body.
I actually tell people all the time, just because we have so many young students and people that are always curious, because we get results in here, which is just amazing because you don't always see such quick results. So we have kids in here all the time that will ask okay, well, what did you get your degree in, or where did you learn all this stuff? And I tell them all the time, I learn so much more every day now than I did when I was at college. So it's kind of crazy, just the knowledge of things that we learn in here every single day.
It's the law of attraction. If your mindset is, there's so much I can learn and I realize how little I know, not to diminish what I know, but in the grand scheme of things, I don't know that much. And there's all this unknown knowledge, right? All the things I don't know. That's the fun part. Because then you uncover that, and it's day by day by day. Sometimes it's a crumb, sometimes it's a brick, sometimes it's a part of a house, but then you look at the big picture and it's like, well, that's still a drop in the bucket. That's like a drop of the ocean, you know what I mean? If you look at the human body, 99.9% of the human body is space. Think about that. We think of being solid. We think of a tree or a rock or a meteor or whatever it is as being solid. 99.9% of everything is space. So then what is the rest of it? It's energy. And what's energy? In waves of frequencies. They give off frequency, they give off colors, they give off smells, they give off sights, they give off sounds. So that's what I do. So in targeted frequency therapy, I've got to figure out what's going on. I call it the driver, what drives that person to have to be in here. And so it might be pain, but then what's the pain driver? Is it emotional, which is very possible? Is it physical, like there's a torn tissue, muscle, tendon, ligament, disc, bone, whatever it is? Or is it nutritional, like it's inflammatory? If it's inflammatory, then what causes that? There's lots of different ways to go about this.
I got out in 2019, but I injured my back in 2013, so I was doing the Army. I was still ruck marching and running and carrying heavy weight and doing all the normal thing, but I was in the Army at the time, so I was like, hey, it is what it is. And then I got out and realized hey, it hurts to pick my son up, it hurts to bend over to playing with him on the playground. In the morning, it's like a 30-40 minute process for me to get up and start moving and feel like I can actually walk around without wincing in pain type thing. So he changed that aspect dramatically. I can get up right away and be like the other day, I noticed it and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I didn't even have to do anything. I just got up and went downstairs. And it seems like something so simple like that, but before I wasn't able to do that before I saw him.
I actually had gotten in a car accident while I was in massage school, and so Jacqueline had said, hey, you need to come and see my dad. And so I came in here, he set me up with microcurrent, which I was like, I don't know what all these wires are on me or what this is gonna do. But I didn't realize that I had such bad concussion symptoms. I was tired all the time. I was starting to get angry, which by nature, I'm not an angry, aggressive person at all. But I had just horrible headaches, all these different things going on. And so he started to just treat my brain. I had things going on in my body, and we got to that eventually with my shoulder and other aspects, but the biggest thing was treating my brain. And I had microcurrent on me pretty much 10 hours a day at that point, and just noticing the difference after one treatment, and then let alone after a week, of just how different I felt in my mind. I couldn't imagine not having that treatment.
So I really appreciate the way that he takes a look at the involvement of the brain and emotions and the way that affects really every aspect of our lives and our health.
That was my biggest thing, is him just helping me mentally. And I didn't even come to him really thinking he was gonna be able to help me mentally. I was just like coming for a physical aspect.
When I was going through a rough time, I was so fortunate enough for him to reach out to me and ask, you know, are you doing okay? And I said, I'm not doing okay, but thank you for asking. And so he said, come see me, you gotta see me. And I was like, but can you help with like emotions? Like I don't have a physical hurt, it's all emotional. And he was like, come in, I can help with that. And so I worked with him every day for 2 weeks, and I was so grateful and impressed with the way that he was able to tackle the depression, the anxiety, the overwhelming grief. And it's not a magic pill. It didn't make it disappear, but it made it manageable. And at least I knew every day when I would walk in, if I felt like at any point in the day I wasn't gonna be able to make it through, I was like, okay, just get to whatever time it is that I'm gonna see Dr. Poorman, because I know during that time, if no other time in the day, I will feel good while I'm in his office. And it obviously translated into much more than just the time that I was there.
And I've talked with him before, he's like, he's like, we have to find a way to get more veterans in here, because with the VA, it's a very, like, before I came here, I was taking 7 different types of medication, which is like, they have a medication for sleep and then it's got to counter that, to counter this, to counter that. And I'm like, at one point I was taking them all and I'm like, I'm not even a person. Like, I feel like I'm just a shell and I'm just mobbing through life and just doing everything I normally would do, but I'm like, have no emotions. Like, I'll be playing with my kid, I'm like, this is fun, but inside of like, it is what it is. Like, have nothing to go along with it, which I hated. And when I told him, he was like, you gotta stop taking them. And I was like, I'll stop taking them, man. Like, you know what I mean? I haven't taken them in months anyways, but I was like, I hated taking them. But that's the VA's way of handling stuff, is like, if they had a Dr. Poorman there, he would save hundreds of lives at the VA, like overall, like hundreds of lives. He was like, we need to find a way to get more veterans. He's like, not even in, he's like, just to see these different types of approaches. He's like, I don't care if they come to me or they go to somebody else. He's like, but they need to stop doing these normal VA medical, like, medication approaches, because it's causing these dudes, you know what I mean, 22 people a day to be taking their own lives because I mean, there's people who have killed themselves in the parking lot of VAs because they're not getting the care. And I'm like, this dude probably could have helped, even if he helps 1% of that. I'm like, he could change so many people's lives by just the approach that he takes to medicine.
What we really try to do is in touching them physically, we're then trying to then get an emotional connection with them, trying to put into that emotional bank account, so that when I say something positive, like we just got done talking about, you and I did, when I say something positive, you go, wow, that means a lot to me. Because when I hear that from people, then I know that I'm really touching them at the heart, and that's really what it's all about. I think I said this before, experiences and relationships. That's what life's about. So in here, I create a relationship with people, and then I want to create a great experience for them.
When you go into his clinic, you almost feel like you're gonna leave a better person because of the way that he passionately invests his time into you. Not just, hey, what ailment do you have going on? What can we do? But like, I care about you. And there's a sense of peace when you're around him because you know you're in good hands. There's a sense of peace when you're with his daughter Jacqueline, with Megan, with everybody in the office.
I came in, I was coming to his appointment. He's like, how's your day going? I was like, my roof was leaking. He's like, man, that's terrible. I'm like, yeah, but I guess there's worse stuff. And he was like, whoa. And I'm like, I don't know what you did to me, man. But like, I'm like, it seems like just everything is like different in the world. Like, it's a brighter world. I'm like, I leave and I'm like, you know, there's worse situations that can happen. Like, I'm like, I guess so, man.
So I used to say 2 most important things in life are, you know, your attitude and your effort. And then a friend of mine just taught me recently, it's about serving other people, right? It's about having a servant mindset. And so I do. I serve every patient in here. So I got called by the South Koreans. They did a Zoom call and said, hey, we want to show you this athlete. We want to show you her MRI and her x-rays because she's got this broken foot. She can't run and she's in a lot of pain. So we want to know if you could possibly help her. And so I looked at it and I said, okay, well, she has a fracture in there, but like, why are you calling me if she has a fracture? Well, she actually fractured that 10 years ago. And I go, oh, okay, well then that's filled in with scar tissue. So she's had pain for 10 years. And they're like, no, she hasn't. I said, well, how long she had pain? They said for like 6 weeks. Well, then it's not coming from the fracture. Well, how do you know that? Because she's had a fracture. It's called a non-union fracture. It didn't heal completely, but it healed with scar tissue, right? So how was she running it for the last 10 years? And she's a long jumper for them. So how has she done that for the last 10 years if she's had a fracture? So anyway, they fly me all the way over there. I said, here's the deal. You fly me over. If I don't help her, you don't have to pay me other than you pay my airfare and you fly me back home. So it's kind of cool. So they get me there and I'm like, oh, where are we going? They're like, oh, we're going to do it in the hospital because that's where the medical doctors are and that's, you know, where they want you to work on her. I'm like, oh, okay, great, right. So I get in there, I assess her and I go, oh, she's got some neuro stuff going on. So let's work on the neuro stuff and then we'll have her go back out in the hallway because she couldn't walk without pain. It wasn't tremendous, but she could walk, but it was painful. So obviously she couldn't run. So I get them doing some neuro stuff and the doctors are all standing around in their white coats and stuff like that. And I'm dressed like this. And she gets up and she goes walking down the hallway and next thing I know, she goes jogging and she goes to run in and they're like, oh, it's a miracle. It's a miracle. You're a miracle worker. You're a miracle worker.
My name's Andy Isabella. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. I moved out here to play for the Arizona Cardinals after I attended the University of Massachusetts. I played there at UMass for 4 years. I got drafted in the second round of the Cardinals. And then at my second season here, I had a hamstring injury and then got hooked up with Dr. Porman and he took care of me. So I've been out here in Arizona for 3 seasons now and I love it out here and it's great to have Dr. Porman's help and throughout all my injuries.
I had a soccer player, blows her ACL out, okay? So I said to her, she's in here and I said, okay, so now she's in the rehab part and she's actually doing pretty well. I said, what'd you learn from that experience? She goes, what? What'd you learn from that? I said, boy, if you didn't learn anything from that, then you're missing the chance of an opportunity, right? It's not an obstacle, it's an opportunity. You see it as an obstacle, I see it as an opportunity. What'd you learn from that? Comes back the next visit. She goes, you know what I realized? How much I love soccer. That I took soccer for granted. I was as good as everybody else, but I wasn't as good as I could have been. I'm actually better now than I was before because I realized I didn't work hard enough. I worked hard enough to just be a tiny bit better than them. Now I realize I want to be way better than them. And now she's like, wait, isn't that funny? She goes, without getting hurt, I never would have done it. I would have just coasted and been okay with that, you know, and maybe not got a college scholarship, but now she's going to be playing college soccer. I'm like, that's from your injury. She goes, I know, right?
I had a hamstring injury after my rookie season and it was nagging for like 2-3 months. And it was like I was able to play on it and everything. It wasn't like a big deal, but it was just like some like little injuries that are just annoying. And you're just like, why can't it just go away? And then so I came. So I was working out with a friend that works with Dr. Porman, and I was like, he mentioned it. And I was like, I might as well just go see him and see what he's all about. So I went in here, and literally the next day, he had me all fixed up. I haven't had that hamstring problem since, and I was like, I don't know what you did, but it worked.
I did 3 sessions in a row with him the first week, and I came back in the second session. I was probably, when I first came in, like a 6 to 7 pain level, and then with like radiating pain and numbness down my leg, and then probably like the next session I came in, I was like a 2 or a 3, like after just one session with him. And he was like, how you feeling? I was like, I haven't felt this good since like before I joined the military. Yeah. He's like, no way. I'm like, it's crazy.
In the clinic here, we do use what Megan and I went to school for, which is like massage therapy, soft tissue work, whatever you want to call it, because they both go hand in hand. In his clinic, in our clinic, we take like a whole body approach to working with people and not just targeting just the muscle that they're having an issue with, but like the brain, the spinal cord, like the whole body. It comes into emotions, a lot of different things.
I always make people part of the process because they're not part of the process, right? Part of the solution or part of the problem. So I want them to be involved in it. And so I'll say, okay, so what we just did, how does that feel? And then they walk around, they move, whatever, and then we do a little bit more work, and then we test them again, and then a little bit more work. And so they're always involved in the whole process, as opposed to, you know, them not having a voice. Because, you know, a lot of times people don't have a voice with their caretakers. People go in there, they don't ask the doctor questions. You're going to go in and do his exam, or she's going to do her exam, and then, you know, you're going to give you a medication, or they're going to give you a prescription for therapy, and then you're on your way. And like, didn't even talk to you a whole lot, you know, because they got to keep moving. Me, I want to know what's going on in you. Because again, it might not be the physical, that might be the way it showed up in here, but it might be an emotional, it might be nutritional.
The coolest thing about working with Dr. Porman is that his mind works in a way where he's constantly looking for the next thing. Like, how can we be better? How can we help more people? How can we reach this demographic and get to an area where no one's ever been able to get to before? And so adding brain tap into the mix now and actually being able to change different brain wavelengths and which state you're going into, and helping people with, you know, anxiety, depression, PTSD, or even just athletes that are trying to get into the right mindset when they don't have enough confidence.
One of the most respectable and impressive things about Dr. Poorman is I feel like every time I come back to him, he's like, oh, this is this new thing I learned about, or I had a breakthrough with this. It's not, hey, I'm the smartest guy in the room because I've been doing this for X amount of years, like you can come across in the medical field. He's so open to learning, and the motivation for learning is so that he can continue to help more people and help them in more ways than maybe he was able to help them in the past. And I think that's what you're seeing now with more of the emotional side of things, that he now, he's always done that, but I think he's upped what he's able to do with the brain and the emotional side of things as his practice has evolved.
That's the thing, it's almost like a proverbial carrot. You're never gonna reach the apex, as you said. You're never gonna reach the ceiling. But that's the fun part, because for me to uncover what I don't know, I didn't know, that's cool. Because the end result is to help you feel better, to feel more functional, to feel optimal in life. And whether it be that I touch your shoulder, right, and I give you energy that way, that I touch you with my heart and you realize that I truly care and love you, or if it's that I do some energy work with you, or I do some physical work with you, or I teach you a new exercise or something that makes you feel better and function better, what does it matter?
Yeah, like I've had appointments where they've been 30 minutes with him, and I've had appointments where it's been 2.5 hours with him, and he's like, yo, we're gonna get this treatment done, like whether I have to stay here all day with you. Like I said, he came in the first time after hours and was like, I'll meet you after hours. And I was like, wow, I never had that. Like any doctor, like who actually, like, it's not like he only cares about being a doctor, like he cares about like the patients, and like he gets excited. Like when I told him, he was like, no way. I'm like, I think you're more excited for me than I am for me.
I like that the intensity he brings, like it's intense. And he like knows what he like, he's very confident about what he does, and I think that rubs off on the patient, and it makes you feel like, oh, I can really trust this guy. And yeah, the energy he brings is different. I think everything is like energy, like how you present yourself to people and how you come across people, and being confident in yourself and know that you could do what other people need you to do, and so people can rely on you. And that's what Dr. P brings, that energy every day.
Kind of like that aha moment. Like you get chills when someone feels so much better, because everyone's been through moments in their life where they feel like the lowest, and when you finally feel better, it's the best moment. So when you can assist and help in that every single day, just to see the life that you're giving back to someone, and that's the biggest thing. I mean, we're assisting their body and healing. Our bodies know what to do. So all of the modalities that we have in here are just assisting other people's bodies to kind of help them. So it's really that aha moment, like, okay, we found out what the driver is. So
we truly have, like, we attract like the coolest patients of all time. He's been doing this for so many years, 27 plus years, that by this point, has incredible people that want to come in here and get healing. And being able to be around those people and laugh and joke while they're also getting treatment and healing, and be able to serve them in that way is like the most rewarding thing, like, of all time, for sure.
He's a chiropractor by trade that has evolved his practice tremendously over the course of the years, and to see what it is now and the multitude of ways that he's helping people, from injury to the emotional aspect of things, is incredible.
All my patients that come and see me, every one of them give to me. Every one of them give to me. I don't just give to them, because think of that. If I'm giving to 20 to 30 patients a day, that's draining. Like I'm giving and giving. Like if I'm giving $100 to every patient that walks in here, well, but it's not the other way around where they're just giving me $100 either, right? Because then they wouldn't do that either. They have to get this exchange. So they maybe pay me monetarily and I help them physically, but then they pay me emotionally and I pay them back emotionally. And then they pay, right? And so we do this, it's this give and take. That's the thing I tell them about my patients. They go, yeah, Dr. Poorman, you're so great. No, what's that say about you? You know what's sad is I say this a lot in here. People say, man, you're so amazing. I've never had a doctor like you. And I'm like, that's awesome. And yet it's really sad. Because I wish all your doctors were like that. I wish all your friends were like that. I wish your neighbors, I wish we all were like that. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm just saying I wish everyone would take the time to show that they actually care for another human being. That's all I'm doing. Because every day we're either growing or we're dying. We're never staying the same because life continues, right? So if you're stayed the same, that means you've died a little bit. And if you're growing, that's that growth mindset, right? I always want to be a little bit better tomorrow than I was today. And I want to be a little bit better tonight than I was this morning. And I want to help people and I want to think about it in a different process. That's why I'm always getting, tools or techniques or equipment or toys or whatever people want to call it. But I'm always trying to help people and help them get better faster so they can get back to life. That's the journey though, right? It's not a destination, it's a journey.